Hi, this is Darren Lyle. Today I thought I'd work on UV mapping a character. Let's begin with the head. And I think I'm going to go over to my UV editing layout here, and I'm going to isolate the head by pressing Shift H. And let's take a look at how we might UV map this. Usually for organic shapes like this, it's probably best to go with seams. So I'm going to go to Edit Mode by hitting the Tab key, go to Edge Mode, and I think I'm going to begin with kind of a T shape to the seams. And I'm going to select edges on down the back of the head. Hopefully this character may have like hair or a hat or some sort of something that will cover the top of the head and cover the seams. But I'm going to press Control E and I can press Mark Seam. Now I did want to mention actually that over here in the Shading UVs tab, you also have the Mark Seam and Clear Seam tools over here. So I'm just going to click Mark Seam. All right, so there's my seam marked in orange. I'm going to select everything and then press I could come over here to the Unwrap menu actually. You can either press the U key or come over here to the Shading UVs tab and click Unwrap. One of the issues I have with this kind of thing is that the unimportant things are what gets the best coverage. So the neck and the sides of the head are getting this great coverage, but the actual face of the character is very small. In addition, look at what's happening here in the mouth. Let me show you why that's happening. If I go to wireframe mode here, it's got an inside of the mouth. It's got a tongue and an inner mouth here. It also has teeth that's hidden away currently. But we also need to think about mapping the inside of the mouth so we don't get this strange thing happening in the mouth. So let's take a look at how we might UV map the inside of the mouth. I'm going to hit Control Up arrow to go to full screen. And I think the first thing I want to do is select an edge to isolate the inner mouth from the outer mouth. And I think I want it to be here. I think I'm going to have that be a seam. Control E, Mark Seam. In addition, I think I want to split out the tongue. So maybe the base of the tongue right here, we could split that out. Mark Seam. Lastly, I want to split the inner mouth up along the bottom of the mouth. So I'm going to select, I'm just Alt selecting an edge. So that's going to give us a seam along the bottom of the inner mouth, which is good. The bottom of the tongue, but it's got all these other edges as well. So I'm going to press the C key, and that's the circle select tool. Now I can click and drag and I can select things, but I can also middle mouse button click and drag to deselect things. So I'm going to deselect the edges along the chin, and I'm going to do the same for this one. And then I'm going to deselect the edges along the top of the tongue here. And that looks pretty good. All right, I'm going to go ahead and mark the seam and see how that works. I'm going to go back to my UV editing view, and let's select all and press U and unwrap and see what happens. And now we've got a little bit better of an unwrap. We have the inner mouth here, the tongue here, and we've got the head map with the mouth that makes a little more sense. What we need to do is put a checker pattern on it to see how we've done. We really don't know in terms of stretching how we've done until we put some sort of pattern onto it. So I'm going to go down here and create a new checker pattern. I'll call it checker. I'll select UV grid and click OK. All right, so we've got that. Now we need to go and add a material to this and link up that checker texture to the material. So let's go over to the node editor, turn on use nodes right over here. Notice I've got the cycles render engine turned on. That's important for the way I'm doing this. I'm going to create a new material and call this material checker. That way I can assign this material to any object I'm UV mapping. Now I can come in here and go to add texture, image texture. I can now choose that checker texture and link it up to the material. Okay, great. I can't see it over here because I need to go to the texture view. All right, so now we can see what we've done, and you can kind of see what I mean by the neck and the sides of the head look great, but that's not what we want. We want the face to look great. So there's a couple of ways that we can try, couple of things that we can try to increase the resolution on the face and reduce the resolution on the neck and the side of the head. The first thing I'm going to try is pinning and live unwrap. So down here under the UVs menu, we've got this live unwrap tool, and I'm going to click that on so it's got a check mark. Now I'm going to use the pen tool, the P key on the keyboard, to pin certain vertices in here. I'm going to go to vertex mode and I'm going to select a couple of vertices here and press the P key, and notice how they highlight red. And I'm going to click a couple of these down here and hit the P key, and they too highlight. Now what's cool about this is if I select one of these pinned vertices and hit the G for move or grab and move it around, it will automatically update as I move it around. The UV map will interactively try and adjust to what I'm doing here, which is kind of cool, I think. So I'm going to move these pinned points around, and what I'm trying to do is increase the resolution on the face and reduce it on the sides of the head. So I'm going to scale these two apart and maybe move, let's see if I can move this down. It's kind of a crapshoot what's going to work for your particular map. The next thing I'm going to try is another tool called the what am I going to use? How about the proportional editing tool over here? This little guy right here. What I'd like to do is turn this on and turn it on to connected. And that will allow me to select vertices. I'm going to press Control and click and drag around here. And I'm just going to select some vertices of the face. And if I press the scale tool, notice not much happens yet, but if I scroll the mouse wheel, I get this circle brush identifier, whatever you want to call it. And what this allows me to do is adjust the influence of the scale. So I can scroll the wheel and I can move the mouse to try and bring up the size of the face, which is the important part, within the UV shell. The last thing I'm going to try is to deal with the chin. Let's see what we've got down here. Turn off the proportional editing tool. There we go. And let's see if we can figure out Okay, you can see these move on the model as I move these around. I'm just going to play with the chin UVs just a bit to see if I can get so it isn't quite so stretched on the chin. But you can see what I'm doing here. You can see that a combination of tools like the proportional editing tool, the pen and live unwrap functions, as well as using seams, is kind of all needed to be able to UV unwrap something like a character head. So in the next video, what I'll try and do is then work on the arms and the torso of the character. Thanks for watching.